Ladies and gentlemen, this is the end. This is my final video from the Madrid Chess Festival 2024. In fact, it's not from the Madrid Chess Festival at all, as I am back home. It's currently June 17th, and in this video, I will be covering my final game that I played in the first chess tournament I have played in 2 years. And at the end, I will give you my full, unfiltered thoughts of how the tournament went and what this means for the future. So if you are a fan of Gotham Road to Grandmaster content, this is a big episode, all right? And I hope you enjoy. In the 8th round, I lost a heartbreaking game to Julio Suarez Gomez, an international master with a rating of 2477. Basically, the winner of that game would get a Grandmaster norm. If we drew, maybe we would still both get one, but I lost. He also mentioned in an interview that he has flatmates that watch my videos, and he's been watching my videos. So Julio, it was a great game. One of us probably had to lose, and it's okay. Shout out to Julio's flatmates, by the way. Also, during the course of this tournament, 17,000 of you, 17,629 to be exact, participated in the first ever Chess League Community Challenge. Can I just say, that's a lot of people, and you're very awesome for doing that. But like 600,000 of you were watching these recaps. Guys, I told you, if you have a course on Chess League, all you gotta do is log in and do some daily tasks. You're exposing yourself for being a little bit lazy. You didn't have to do much to unlock some amazing rewards. We're gonna be doing more of that in the future. We're gonna be gamifying Chess League. It's gonna be awesome. Folks, the end of the tournament. My last round game. Going into this game was a little bit difficult because obviously I didn't go into this tournament trying to get a GM norm. And yet I suddenly found myself in a situation where I actually could do that. Now, if you don't know how to become a Grandmaster, you need to get 3 norms, which is 3 tournament performances, and you need a rating of 2,500. So even if I got a norm, I'm very far away. My opponent, Daniel Tabuenca, is a young man, 15 years old, from Spain. He's already higher rated than me. Not at my peak, but he's obviously very, very strong. And he needed a draw in this game to get an IM norm. Now, it is customary where if you're playing against someone that only needs a draw in the final round and you have nothing to play for, you just kind of give them a draw because they kind of earned it. Some of you are going to think that's like match fixing or whatever. Chess is weird. It's weird, but it's the culture. All right. I wasn't going to do that though. He actually offered me a draw, like I think somewhere early in the game. And I was like, no, I want to play. Like, let's play. I'm going to try to win. And if you beat me, great. If I lose 2 games in a row to end this tournament, great. But I'm going to try to win. So I played the Queen's Gambit. I want to set a good example. And he played a6. He played a very strange move order. I think he wanted to avoid the Trumpowski, I guess. So he played this. And I saw that in a previous game, he had played this setup. He had played knight c3 and knight f6. The a6 Queen's Gambit declined. Actually, an opening that I played myself in this tournament against Pepe Cuenca. And actually, I had this same exact position on the board against Pepe, and I went here. Pepe, rather, went bishop g5 in our game. If you remember, that was from the second round. And in that game, I played knight f6. Pepe went here, take, and c5. And then it was an interesting game, which ultimately ended in a draw. What's funny is that all of this same stuff happened in this game. And by the way, if you're wondering why I was 15 minutes down, I was late to the game. I stopped by a local cafe about 2 minutes before the game started, and it took me 15 minutes to get a cup of coffee. Spain, I love you. You were a great country. Oh my God, your service in cafes is so hit or miss. Like in New York, you get a latte in 2 minutes. In Spain, it could be siesta time by the time you get the latte. So I was like 15 minutes late, and here he played this move b5. And b5 makes a lot of sense because he attacks my bishop and puts the bishop on b7. But I knew there was something wrong with this move. And I was looking at the position going, you know, there's a reason I played c5 against Pepe, and I delayed the move b5. Like, there's a reason, and I was trying to figure it out over the board. And I got it, but I got it after playing my move. Like, my original idea when he played b5 was retreat the bishop to this diagonal, like this, and then just very quickly play a4. and basically target his pawn on b5. If the pawn goes forward, now I get complete access to c4, and if he continues to play like aggressively toward my center, this is wrong. This is wrong by him, because I will very quickly swarm him with all my pieces. Like, this is too airy of a position. For example, you play a couple of moves, let's say like bishop takes f3, queen f3, rook c8, and suddenly you realize black is just too far behind in development. Black needs one more move, and suddenly it's too late. Because if you take with the knight, knight d6 check is fatal. If you take with the king, you should be euthanized. And if you play queen d7, knight b6 wins the game. So you can't play like this with black. You got to be really, really, really careful. If you play c6, your bishop's just really bad, and white just gets an advantage. And for whatever reason, I went here. Like, I can't really explain it. I mean, I kind of played this move almost just by hand because I was 15 minutes late to the game. Yeah, like, you'll notice I didn't spend a lot of... I mean, I spent, like, 2 minutes. And I put the bishop on b3, and I pressed the clock, and I was like, why did I do that? Why? This is not... I wanted to play the same plan, but part of me also wanted to push for d5. Like, the reason I didn't put the bishop back here is because I thought, well, in some positions, you actually attack in the center. It's not the stupidest thought, but it's not what happens. So he played c5. I still was thinking, okay, like, I'm gonna castle. He can overextend, right? And then now I'm gonna break his structure with my pawns, which I thought was... He played c5. There's some construction going on outside. If you hear it, please, you know how it works on this channel. I tell you about noise, you don't hear anything. So castles bishop b7. And I played a4, and I thought, I have a nice position. I'm going to pressure his pawn. I'm going to pressure this pawn. He has the ability, again, to overextend here and then give me an opportunity to play in the center. I thought this was all very sensible. Again, b4 is a very bad move. It grants me access to the c4 square with my knight, which would be very nice. He thought and played this move, knight d7. And I was like, really? Like, can't I take, knight c3, put pressure? I don't know. I mean, I thought about this. I thought I can just take on a8, and he would take with the queen. I play knight c3, and, I even thought he could play c4 here. No, not here, because knight takes b5. But I was, okay, like, even b4, knight b5, I don't know. I didn't really see... Even I thought, like, bishop c6 was fine. It's not, because I can play e4 very quickly. So... I thought maybe I could just rip open the entire position because I'm more developed than him. He needs minimum 2 moves to get castled, but if I start trading, of course he doesn't have to take with the queen. He could take with the bishop, which looks a little bit silly. I thought maybe I can take, and then maybe, he would take with the knight or something, but then I would trade his queen. But even this position is completely equal. This pawn is weak, but it's kind of impossible to attack. Like, even knight c3, bishop c6 is just fine. So I thought for a long time after a4, knight d7, and I settled on queen e2. And again, the idea of queen e2 was baiting him into a fight. Like, I wanted him to go c4, because then the position becomes imbalanced, because then he will, have this structure, but I will try to play for the center, and I will try to go b3. I also calculated after queen e2, queen b6, and I thought it would get very complicated. I was going to go knight c3. Now I'm forcing him to play this move, and I'm maybe even forcing him to play b4. And then I would play like knight b1 and maybe b3. And I mean, this looks completely ridiculous, but it's a complex game. And I thought, okay, I'm going to play knight d2 or maybe even just blockade the pawns. That's not the best move. I should play knight d2. But the goal was with queen e2, like, get him to hang on or, come forward. Like, I'm sort of baiting him in. Right? And he needs to play for a draw to get his norm. It's going to be uncomfortable for him to suddenly get in a fight because you start taking pretty big risk. Also, this is never going to happen, right? Like, you literally, you get a +2 advantage if you take the pawn. Because again, you're so far behind in development, you can't get yourself in a position like this. You're too open. So queen e2, he thought for a while that he played a great move. He played the top line of the engine. The second line of the engine is to play c4 and get into this fight with me. So my move made sense. My move was smart, and again, I thought about different ways to provoke him, but I didn't like that he would storm in with these pawns sometimes, and so I thought queen e2 was a really nice way to do that, and he played a great move. He played the best move, and that's why he's 2350 at 15 years old. After queen e2, very clearly indicating I would like to take his pawn on b5, he ignored everything. He did not play queen b6. He did not go c4. He played a move I didn't even expect. He played bishop e7. So my point was, I'm attacking his pawn, so he has to do something about it. Because, you know, he's either got to go here or defend his pawn. He said, no, I'm just going to get one step closer to castling. And the idea is that if I take, right, and then I have to take his rook, now he takes with the queen, and if I take on b5, he takes on f3. So he uses my own momentum against me, right? And after take queen f3, I don't have anything on the back rank. My king is wide open. This position sucks for white. Sucks. Terrible. I gotta go here to stop queen g4. And this is not the game we want, because he's gonna castle and be fine. So when he played bishop e7, I started realizing, oh, I don't have any pressure. This was a very nice move. Didn't see it at all. Literally, maybe it was like amoeba brain or brain eating amoeba or whatever you want to call it. I mean, I thought my move was very sensible because I target his pawn. I make way for, you know, my bishop, my position to put a piece on d1 if he starts coming forward. He said, nope, you're actually not threatening anything because I'm going to use your momentum against you. And so at this point, I was like, all right, I got to take. And now I have to develop a piece. I need to protect my rook. I need to attack this pawn with two different things. I am still, let it be known, baiting him into a fight. I'm still baiting him into a fight with the move c4. I really want him to play this move because it creates an imbalance in the center. After b4, I would play something like knight b5. The pawn is hanging. Maybe I'm going to go e4. Like it's a complex game. We still have to make a lot of important decisions. Maybe bishop f4, and now I access the dark squares. It's not easy at all after knight c3 because his position is very, very delicate. But again, he thought for a little while. He played the best move. He completely did not touch the c-pawn. And you may remember, like earlier in the game, I said playing b4 is terrible. Playing b4 is terrible because it gives me access to the light squares. This is not the same position. At this point when he plays b4, I don't have time to reroute. And even if I did, like, I know I lose my rook here, but let's just say the position was something like this. Even if I did, this is not the same position. It's still equal. Why? Because he's already caught up in development. He's a move away from castling. The whole point of getting him to overextend with these pawns in the queen's gambit positions is to move my knight to c4, use my lead in development to cause problems. I don't have a lead in development anymore, therefore I cannot cause problems. It's simply a logic puzzle. So he plays b4. I play knight a4 because I thought this was a smart move. And I thought he can't castle because if he castles, I'm going to take his knight, deflecting one of these pieces from the defensive c5. So I thought maybe he has to take. And here I was considering taking with the knight, castling, and maybe something like rook d1, rook c1, put my knight into his position. It's still not over. Again, I was like very much dead set on pressuring him for a very long time because he has the uncomfortable situation of having to play for a draw, which is not easy. So I played knight a4, and he castled. And I sat there like, what? He's castling? Why would he castle? What about the defense of this pawn? Is he gonna go here and keep this pawn protected? At which point, the game becomes very chaotic because he's trying to set up an attack on my king. I'm gonna play something like, let's say, rook d1. He's gonna play queen c7. I'm gonna play rook c1. I mean, this is complex stuff. I even saw a line here like d5, take, bishop takes. Here, knight to b6, rook h5. If he takes, I have queen c2 mating him. I mean, he's gotta be really careful. So I took at f6. I was like, did he make a mistake? And he just went here. He just gave me the pawn. Why? Because he's opening the bishops. So if I take on c5, which is what I did, he's just going to win the pawn back. I thought, what? Rook c1, rook c8. I'm going to put my queen on b5. I'm going to target the bishop, right? Like, I thought, okay, I'm at least going to be two pawns. It's not good. None of it is good. I can also maybe play knight b6. Trying to, like trick him. And if here I take, suddenly my pawn's on b6. Of course, he can try to win it back. But I played the move rook c1 and I sat there and was like, oh my God. He can take my he can take my pawn. He can take my pawn. because my rook is defending my rook and it's defending my pawn on c5. So when he takes after knight c5, he's gonna take and queen c5, and I'm much worse now. I'm not up a pawn, and he has nonstop pressure. Like, I am in a lot of trouble. So knight c5 got a brilliant move, and there was another really ridiculous idea here. If I play rook c5, he could maybe even sack his queen. Maybe. I was calculating this, and I was like, ain't no way. He can play bishop b2, sacrificing the bishop on b7, and then playing like this, and maybe even pawn to b3, and I was like, what is happening? How am I about to lose this game? The only thing keeping me alive here is that he can't put his rook on d8. Like, if he could play rook d8 and b2, I would be completely lost. So when he took on c5, I thought, all right, damage control right now. This dude has just completely outplayed me with the black pieces. Not good, just not good. So I took on c5, he took on a4, getting rid of my defense. And here I thought, this is the only thing I can do. The position's about equal. So it's not like he caught me and I'm losing. He caught me and it's equal. Maybe black is microscopically better. Black can continue the game here by playing rook c8, trying to mate. Also, black can maybe continue the game like this, trying to go for back rank. But it never works. It actually never works. He's not in time to checkmate me because he has his own problems on the back rank. And bigger problems are the fact that his bishop is hanging. So if he tries to go here, rook b8 is just checkmate. So when I realized that I could play queen c4, even if he could get control of the file, as long as I don't blunder checkmate, I'm going to win his pawn on b4, and then it's just going to be a draw. He could try to defend it, but then I put my knight in the center. And this is anybody's game, actually. This is still complicated. So when I played queen c4, I realized I knew what he was going to do. Remember I told you in the beginning of the video that the best thing for him is to make a draw? I knew right away what he was going to do. He was going to take my queen. He was going to take the knight. He was going to take the pawn. Why? Because this is a dead draw. Dead draw. First of all, opposite colored bishops. Second of all, 4 pawns on the same side. Yes, I have a slightly damaged structure, but if I lose one of these pawns, I should be stoned to death. And we just repeated moves. So right away, both of us knew what was, we were done. The game was over. And in a classical game at this level, this is game over. No point playing on. Again, white will trade the rook on a light square on the back rank, and that's that. So the tournament ended. Now, what's funny is I actually gained rating for this game because my opponent's higher rated than me. It was not a great game. To be honest with you, it was not a great game from the opening. I don't think I was in a great mindset to even play this game after playing against Julio yesterday. And on top of that, in the back of my mind was like, the kid needs a draw for the norm. It's kind of a weird game. I showed up wanting to play for a win. Then I kind of sat there going, why did I put all my opening advantage is gone now. It's just kind of an equal game. And I did check the database afterward. It is better to put the bishop on here, but it's fine. We learn. We're going to have more games in the future where stuff like this can happen. And the tournament is over. Tournament is over, and I actually got second place. My opponent got an IM norm. Congratulations to him. That's his second IM norm. My previous opponent, Julio Suarez Gomez, he actually got a GM norm. So it was funny because I was leading the tournament halfway through, but these guys were in second and third place, and they both got norms. And it ultimately came down to that second game. Julio Suarez, actually, it's his second Grandmaster norm, and he's 24, 95 or something. So yeah, guy's like a Grandmaster. I mean, he's probably going to get the title very soon. If I had to lose to one guy in the tournament, I lost to the best player, probably. And this was my result. This is in Spanish because it's from the Chess Results website. I gained 25.7 points, bringing me to a rating of 2,348, roughly. I had a performance rating of 2531. After 5 rounds, it was 2,700. I mean, that was kind of, fake. But I ended the tournament a little bit in a feeble way. Yeah, I mean, my impressions of the tournament are as follows. Before the tournament, I prepared a lot for my first 5 games. I knew everything that was going to happen. In game number 1 against Sosa, I knew it was going to be a two knights Caro-Kann. Pepe was going to be a solid positional game. Third game against Diego, he's very strong, but I'm going to play a way where he struggles against and maybe get a good position. That's exactly what happened. Game 4 against Akira, held with black, solid game, even was pressing for a little bit. And then against the Grandmaster from Cuba, Martinez, I also, like, I got the kind of game that I wanted. It was complicated, and I ultimately managed to pull out on top. But, yeah, the last four were a bit weird. I talked about it in the previous recaps that I did, and it's not really an excuse, but I just got so tired. I mean, oh my God, I got so tired halfway through the tournament. It almost like I burnt out my life force getting 4 out of 5, and it was just such an unbelievable start. I had to kind of hold. I didn't play well. I mean, I played fine, but I didn't play. I wasn't sharp in the critical moments of the last 4 games. I could have very easily lost round 7. So round 8, the game against Julio wouldn't have even mattered. But overall, I was very good. I don't know what my expectations were going into this tournament, but I got 5.5 out of 9, and I got second place. I gained 27 rating points, 26, which is 13% of the ELO required that I need to get back to the Grandmaster title. I almost got a GM norm. To be honest, I can't really ask for much more, right? I mean, I didn't know what to expect after 2 years of not playing chess. 2 years of not playing chess, being at my lowest ELO since 2016. I had no idea what to expect, man. And I took a risk. I worked so hard the last 2 months. You guys don't even know. Those of you who are subscribed to the Patreon know I'm uploading all these like full-length Grandmaster lessons. You know I'm working very, very hard. I like made my openings better. I worked on my calculation. I worked on my psychology. I'm in a way better place mentally in this event than I was in any of my other events. And I feel prepared, and I am hungry. All right? I have my next 4 tournaments lined up. I'm playing in July in New York. I might play in Philadelphia as well. I'm playing in August, probably somewhere again in Europe. And then later in August, again, I'm playing in New York. All right? September, October, November, December, I'm going to plan out those tournaments as well. I probably have like 8 more tournaments this year. 8 at a minimum. After this tournament, I am so hungry. All right? Because in this event, I felt I was playing better. 80% of the games, I was playing better than my opponents. A couple of critical moments, I made mistakes. The last game was horrendous. But I guess that's what happens when you lose the penultimate round and it's kind of such a big game. And still so much to learn. My friends, if you made it this far in the video, I will be uploading all of the full detailed analysis of all of these games along with my coach, Grandmaster Nick Sons, you know where, to the Patreon. And I will be uploading parts of those here as well on the road to Grandmaster. First tournament in 2 years is done. Unretirement is done. We gained 26 rating points. We missed out on a norm, but we're 2348. We got 152 points to go. 3 norms to go, and I can't wait. I can't wait to play again. So, lessons learned. Tournament is finished. Shout out to 17,629 of you that participated in the Chessly Community Challenge. Shout out to everybody supporting in the comments. Hikaru even making the recaps. Anish Giri tweeting about the tournament. So much coverage of this event. It was amazing. And shout out to the real organizers, really. Divis and Pepe Cuenca, they set up the Madrid Chess Festival. They got the players. The same with the Kramnik and Jose match. It was a crazy trip to Spain, y'all. I commentated and interviewed the Kramnik match. I played in this tournament. It was really special. It was really special. And I can't wait to play again. So, that's all. Get out of here.